Today, we're diving into a story about two fathers, two completely different ways of thinking about money, and one single choice that changed a young boy's life forever.
But first, let me ask you something. What if everything you've ever been taught about money, go to school, get a good job, play it safe, what if that's only half the story? Okay, so our story starts with a 9-year-old kid, Robert Kiyosaki. He's at this major crossroads, caught between two really powerful figures who are giving him totally different advice about life and money. And the choice he makes, it's going to define his entire future. And this is really the heart of it. On one side, you have his actual father, who he calls his poor dad. Now, this guy was brilliant, highly educated, but he believed in job security above all else, and, well, he struggled with money his entire life. On the other side was his best friend's dad, his rich dad. This man never even finished the 8th grade, but became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii because he believed in financial self-reliance.
So you see the problem, right? He's got these two powerful role models, both successful in their own ways, but with views on money that are polar opposites. He had a massive choice to make. Which path should he follow?
And instead of just going along with the conventional wisdom of his super-educated father, he made a very conscious decision. He chose to learn from his rich dad, to follow the path that was way less common and honestly, a lot riskier. And that one choice, it changed everything.
So what were these fundamental differences? How did these two men see the world so differently? Let's break down their mindsets.
This first one really gets to the core of it all. Poor dad always said, the love of money is the root of all evil, seeing it as this corrupting thing. But rich dad, he flipped that completely on its head. He said the lack of money is the root of all evil, believing that poverty was the real source of so much suffering. This one belief shaped every single financial decision they made.
And their advice on education was just as different. Look, they both believed in studying hard, but for totally opposite reasons. Poor dad's advice was, study hard so you can find a good company to work for. Rich dad's was, study hard so you can find a good company to buy. It's such a small change in words, but it's a massive shift in mindset, from working for the system to owning the system.
Now this one is huge. Poor dad's whole world revolved around safety and security. Don't take risks. For rich dad, though, risk wasn't something to avoid. It was something to understand and manage. For him, the real risk was just not knowing what you were doing.
Poor dad would often say, I can't afford it. That was the end of the conversation. Rich dad, on the other hand, forbade those words. He insisted his son ask, how can I afford it? See the difference? One is a statement that just shuts down your brain. The other is a question that forces it to start working and find answers.
And all of this leads to a much bigger question, doesn't it? Why isn't this stuff taught in our schools? Why do we spend all those years learning about history and science, but almost nothing about how money actually works?
And as Kiyosaki himself says, this is the main reason people struggle financially. They can spend years in school, even get advanced degrees, but walk away knowing absolutely nothing about money. The system teaches you how to work for money, but never how to understand it. And this creates a huge problem. See, because schools don't teach financial literacy, that job gets left to our parents at home. But what happens if your parents don't really understand it either? Our schools are great at creating skilled professionals, but they leave this massive gap in financial knowledge. So what's the result? Most of us learn to work for money, but we never learn the real secret of the wealthy: how to make money work for us.
It's really about two completely different paths in life. The conventional path, the one poor dad recommended, is all about security. But the path rich dad taught was all about something else entirely: freedom. Moving from just being secure to being truly free. And that brings us to the ultimate lesson in this whole story. Before you can even think about building wealth, you have to build the right foundation right here, in your mind.
Rich Dad made this really powerful distinction. He said being broke is just a temporary situation. It means you're out of cash right now. But being poor, that's a mindset. That's a permanent state of mind. It's the belief that you're powerless to change your situation.
Ultimately, it really all comes down to this. People shape their lives through their thoughts. Poor dad often said things like, I'll never be rich. And, well, that became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Rich dad, even when he was temporarily broke, always referred to himself as a rich man. And that belief shaped his actions, and eventually, it shaped his reality.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this: your financial life is shaped way more by your mindset than by your income.
A huge salary will not make you rich if you have a poor person's mindset. And a small salary won't hold you back if you adopt a rich person's mindset. It all starts between your ears.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Before you can change your income, you have to change your thinking. The most important investment you'll ever make isn't in stocks or real estate. It's in your own mind. Change the way you think about money, and you can truly change your life.